It's Jason Rasidlo reporting live inside the Henry Ford Museum, joined by Tom Varitek. How are you today?
Doing very well, Jason. How are you?
Very good. And we're standing next to the Lincoln chair. What can you tell us about this today?
Well, Jason, the Lincoln Chair is in the middle of an exhibit that's all about, well, it's in the middle of a museum about ideas and innovation, and one of the greatest American ideas is that we're all created equal. Well, that came under a big test during the Civil War. Are all men created equal? Are people of color created equal to those who are white? And one person who stood up for that is Abraham Lincoln, and sort of held the country together while it was divided. Well, and he paid the ultimate price. On April 14th, 1863, in Ford's Theater, in this chair, he was shot from behind by an assassin, which now tends to be one of our most hallowed artifacts. But at the time, when after it happened, no one was really sure what should become of this chair. Well, the owner of the theater called up Henry Ford years after the event and said, "Boy, have I got something for you." And it's been a treasured part of our collection ever since.
So this is the authentic chair here.
This is the actual chair. This is the actual chair that he was shot in on that fateful day. Again, it was briefly in the Smithsonian. It briefly belonged to the Secretary of War. And when Henry Ford heard about it, he said, "Wow, that's really interesting." At the time, a lot of people thought it was too grisly an artifact. I don't like to think of it as grisly, but more, again, hallowed and a touchstone to a very violent time in our history where, again, that greatest of American ideas, the idea that we're all created equal, is really put under test.
Very good. Anything else you'd like to add today about the Lincoln chair?
Well, again, it's an ordinary chair, but the events that happen in and around it, like so many things that are ordinary in this museum, it's what's associated with them and what makes them special. So, again, we have a lot of people who stand here just silently in awe of this chair as they come in.
Very good. Thank you.
All right.
Yep. We're standing right here in front of the Rosa Parks bus, and what can you tell us about that today?
Well, again, this Rosa Parks bus is in that exhibit with Liberty and Justice for All, where we take a look at that greatest of American ideas, we're all created equal. And still, even by the middle of the 20th century, 200 years after the writing of the Constitution, of the Bill of Rights, we're still trying to figure that out. And this symbolizes really a turning point, the beginning of the Civil Rights Movement. When Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat, it triggered a bus boycott that was organized by Martin Luther King and really began the Civil Rights Movement. And that is the very bus, and visitors are allowed to sit in the very seat that Rosa Parks, again, refused to give up her seat on that December day.
This is one of the most popular exhibits here at the Henry Ford?
Well, yeah, as the Civil Rights Movement, I think, is still very relevant to people, and it's still very emotional to a lot of people. And to be able to sort of, again, experience something that they, even within their lifetime or even their parents' lifetime, changed really the way we live, I think that has a lot of impact for people.
How long has this bus been at the museum now?
We've had the bus now for, it's been about 5 or 6 years now, and it's been housed in this exhibit for just the last couple of years. The bus acquired it now going, again, I believe it's 6 years now, and it's been on display in here a couple of years.
Very cool.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
This is the Lincoln Continental that John F. Kennedy was assassinated in. History is just a documentation or a list of changes that have happened. Some of those changes are very tragic, and obviously what happened on November 22nd, 1963 was a change and a very tragic change. Now, a lot of visitors come to the museum and they see this car and they say, wait a minute, the Kennedy limousine I remember was blue. It was a convertible. Well, one of the strange things about this car, or interesting things I should say, is that this car was actually used by the Johnson, Nixon, and Carter administrations afterwards. That was obviously refurbished, repainted, and given a little more security, a higher security profile. But yeah, the same car was used by all those administrations, and it was ultimately donated to the museum by the Carter administration.
And when was it donated here?
Again, in the late 70s, it was donated by the Carter administration, and he figured it was appropriate, since it is a Lincoln, a Ford, to be in Henry Ford Museum.
It's one of the most popular things on exhibit here.
Again, I would say significant. Again, it's one of those things, again, that gives people pause, and it's a touchstone to, even though it's a tragic point, it is a turning point in American history.
Very good, thank you.
All right.
The Allegheny Locomotive was built in 1941. Weighing in at 600 tons, it was one of the largest steam-powered locomotives ever built. Designed for pulling huge coal trains over the Allegheny Mountains of West Virginia, this locomotive could reach speeds of up to 60 miles per hour. The cab of the Allegheny is now open for public viewing at the Henry Ford Museum in Dearborn. The Dymaxion house was designed by R. Buckminster Fuller. It was created to be the house of the future and was the strongest, lightest, and most cost-effective housing ever built. Restored to its original 1946 condition, it's the only remaining prototype in the world. The house included 1,100 square feet of living space. There are just 2 bedrooms inside. It was supposed to cost about $6,500 in 1946, and you can see it before your very own eyes at the Henry Ford Museum in Dearborn.